We did that, we spoke to her. And interestingly, we found out from her that other outlets were interested in picking up the story and telling it and wanted to get access to her.
Can you talk a bit about that? Was there compensation for her? How did all that work?
So we don't pay our subjects.
I think we know more about everything, how this happened, so much more than they knew at the trial.
I wonder how those cops feel now.
A bit nervous.
I bet.
Yeah.
She says that it is clear that Mr. Avery was set up and that the people who set him up did a very poor job of it. And furthermore, she claimed that she also intends to prove who actually murdered Teresa Halbach. She asserted that it's actually fairly obvious if you review the record of the criminal case.
In terms of her determination, her work ethic, we really are interested in documenting your process. What does it look like for someone who's advocating for someone serving life in prison to do what you do? Try to get them back into court or try to get them released outright.
And there are multiple pieces of evidence that the prosecution never shared with the defense.
All right, this is fucking telling, guys. Scott and Bobby, all these fucking years, they thought they got away with this shit. They thought they fucking got away with it.
I think it's probably worth exploring a few of those things and then kind of bringing us up to speed on where we are now in the Avery and Dassey cases.
So she's going to take down my fucking family again?
Kathleen is trying to convince the circuit court judge that Stephen is entitled to an evidentiary hearing or a new trial, if not to be released.
And it fucking better not, because you'll have a dead sister.
She has to fight these feelings of, my husband killed this woman, and my son played a role in killing this woman.
I don't think that there's a film that we're screening this semester that has had a bigger impact on these students than your work.
Kathleen Zellner's work, some of the discoveries that she's found, some theories. And I'm not gonna lie, this got me turned all upside down again. So in 2005, a 25-year-old woman named Teresa Halbach went missing on October 31st, Halloween, in Manitowoc, Wisconsin.
Born on March 22, 1980, Teresa was one of 5 siblings.
Born on March 22, 1980, Teresa grew up on her family farm in Calumet County and loved helping her parents take care of the animals.
When she was 8 years old, her father sadly passed away. Karen eventually remarried Richard's brother Thomas, and together they raised their blended family.
Sadly, she lost her father, Richard, when she was only 8 years old, but grew up very close to her mom, Karen.
It's no surprise Teresa Halbach makes her living taking pictures.
She was more talented than I was.
People just felt at ease with her. They felt like they knew her. She was just fun loving. And I think that's really important, especially when you're a photographer, because you want people to be really comfortable.
Friends described her as having an uncanny ability to make everyone feel welcomed.
Whatever she was down with, you were too, because her spirit was just so contagious.
She was dedicated to her studies, making summa cum laude with a degree in photography.
Then she started to transition into her own photography business.
Photography by Teresa.
She started a company called Photography by Teresa, and she was doing great. She was booking weddings. She did a lot of family and children's shoots, and she was in the process of expanding her portfolio. She even coached her little sister's volleyball team. She very much enjoyed traveling, and her friends said that even if you weren't into it, she had this way of making you feel like you needed to come along on any adventure with her.
Teresa was an outdoorsy girl who aspired to work for National Geographic as a photojournalist.
She liked to travel to take photography courses and go to conferences around the USA so she could keep her skills sharp.
She traveled extensively.
During one of her travels, she learned how to scuba dive in Australia, which I thought was so cool. I feel like if you're gonna learn how to scuba dive somewhere, that's where you do it. She was really wanting to save money because she had these goals to attain.
And to supplement her income, she took on freelance jobs for Auto Trader magazine, taking pictures of vehicles that were put up for sale. It was this job that led to her untimely death.
And the last thing that she was known to be doing was taking photos for clients who wanted to post an auto trader.
And never came home. Something her family would know, since they can see her house through their trees.
What her family and friends didn't know for 3 days was that after that last shoot of the day, something sinister happened.
She was last seen Monday afternoon in Manitowoc. Her close friends tell us tonight no one has heard from her, which is very unusual. She also has not showed up for work or her home. Friends say they've tried calling her cell phone, but her voicemail box is full.
If we could do a search, you know, we would, but we don't know where she went after her last stop. So.
I think it's her brother.
No way.
We caught up with Halbach's brother Mike as he handed out flyers in Kellnersville.
Something like people go missing all the time and this girl may have left for Mexico.
Yes.
This is a crime. She's not gone on a vacation. She's not on a walkabout. She hasn't just disappeared to find herself. She has been kidnapped. And I fear worse.
You know, everybody's, you know, I think obviously aware of what's going on, especially the locals that live around here, and you know they seem more than willing to have us go through and check things, and so I know a lot of them have actually told me that they've been out looking themselves.
From what I could see, about 100 people walking shoulder width apart, and starting from 147 and heading for the line fence by Avery's.
We're kind of trying to, you know, cover as much area as we can, as good as possible and as accurately as possible.
He has her planner, and he doesn't have an alibi for the day she went missing. He has no alibi. And he has a motive because she was sleeping with his best friend. And after she died, he moved right into her apartment. Like with his best friend, into her old apartment.
That's weird.
Yeah, so there's a lot of weird, strange things going on with him. I don't want to accuse him without any more evidence. I definitely don't think the police were in cahoots with Ryan Hilligus, though. That's just crazy.
Slowly sweeping over the areas, you know, looking for anything that might be a possible lead or anything that could, you know, give the investigators a tip to what's going on.
There's something, I don't know, it's strange. Why am I seeing these taillights and my brother's seeing these headlights by him?
We have found a RAV4. What color specifically was her RAV4?
Something don't match. I don't know if Manitowoc County's trying to set me up again or what. I don't know.
The girl that's missing from Hilbert?
I can have you speak with my shift commander. Can you hold on a moment?
Thank you.
Sure.
Trying to nail me again. So they don't have to pay all of this money out for the lawsuit and everything else, and this way I probably wouldn't get nothing. I ain't got nothing to do with that. You know, she took the picture, she left, she was on a highway.
The Halbach family has also set up a website to help in the search for Teresa.
Also new tonight, the Halbach family has set up a website for people who want to help find Teresa. There are pictures, news articles, and other information posted on it.
He set up a website really as kind of a coordinating effort in terms of our searches. Instead of everyone calling our search leader, we're kind of directing them to go to the website. We're going to update that. As soon as we know information, we'll have that updated.
There was also a really disturbing comment that was posted on a tribute page for Teresa. At this point, Stephen was already in jail, but it said that it was from Stephen Avery, and it was awful. It was graphic and sick, and somebody called it in to get it removed.
Who's maintaining the website?
We know that there's a nasty remark on the guest book. We just erased it.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to bring it to your attention in case you didn't know. Somebody called in here and said that, you know, they saw it and they didn't like it and they didn't know who to contact. And I said, I think I know.
Yep, and that worked because we already contacted the web designer who's in California, and he erased it for us.
Okay, what was it?
You know, I daughter, I her and type, and I'm sorry, but I needed some.
Oh, really?
But what it looks like is that this might have been motivated more by some kind of anger or grudge or resentment or misogyny or envy, something like that. And somebody who did so after a cool-headed reflection that they wanted to do this. And that this is somebody who feels he was basically terrifying everybody.
Avery's past record includes burglaries in 1981 and 1982 and putting others at risk with a firearm in 1985. When human remains were found on the family's salvage yard Wednesday, 7 members of Avery's family, including his parents, were court-ordered to submit DNA samples.
There are so many people that would have to be involved in, a cover-up or planting something to send somebody to jail. But there's this thing that I go back in where it's almost like, was there a combination of both? Really, you would only just need a few key people to misdirect searches, which was being done. There were delays in call times, like the medical examiner not coming, crime scene photos not being taken.
I think we're all functioning at a disadvantage in terms of coming up with a full puzzle, what the puzzle may look like, because we're missing a number of those pieces of the puzzle. If not some interaction that between the victim and the offender, and they represent symbolically somebody to them, a significant person in their lives, typically female, and maybe a dominant female in their lives.
Yeah, she left. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you didn't testify for that.
And then Scott Todick is driving the opposite direction and says that he sees him driving down the road. So they are each other's alibis.
She thinks Teresa got out of her vehicle at some point after she left.
Maybe Bobby followed her.
She looked in her rearview mirror. She saw a man flashing his lights at her. So she, immediately thought, oh, something must be wrong with my car.
And she got pulled over on the side of the road. And then from there, something happened.
So she didn't know what kind of pickup truck it was. She was trying to figure it out, but she just didn't know because it doesn't know if it wants to be an SUV or a pickup truck.
Where you're going to have more than one offender working together. There are some usually involving a very psychopathic leader figure and a kind of weaker-willed figure that works alongside them.
Was the physical evidence of what actually happened in that RAV4.
In which he said he's never been in her car, right?
Right.
They're saying his blood's in the car, and they're saying he put her key in there, turned it to start it.
But here's the kicker. Not a single fingerprint.
Nope.
Not a single fingerprint of his on the entire car with an open bleeding hand, not wearing gloves.
Dude,
you just don't work.
Me just talking his logic. It kills me.
You'd also have to not follow up with witnesses that could contradict the narrative, which people who have tried to provide information to the detectives said has happened. There's several affidavits from witnesses who said that they saw Teresa's vehicle. Thomas Sowinski, Kevin Ramlow, Paul Burdick. He saw a vehicle parked by the old dam on the north side of the road. It was around dusk, but there was enough light for him to make out the shape and color. It was a small SUV, greenish in color. He immediately told the officer that he saw the car that was in the description at the door. And he says that on Saturday, November 5th, he was delivering papers on the Avery salvage yard in the early morning hours before sunrise.
An eyewitness has come forward claiming to have seen Bobby.
Soon after he turned on to Avery Road, he witnessed an individual who he later realized was Bobby Dassey,
pushing Teresa's SUV back into the salvage yard.
Yeah, it could have been an accidental, like maybe one of them accidentally shot her or something, and then the other one helped get rid of the body because they were going to go hunting.
When her vehicle was found, there was damage to the front of it that nobody knew about. And she, as far as like her family and friends knew, there was no accident that she had been in at all. So maybe perhaps there was some form of minor accident.
I noticed a vehicle in the park and ride on highways 147 and 43 had just struck a deer and had a broken headlight. I gave the driver a roll of duct tape to repair the car.
The deer in the trunk? Oh, interesting. Why did you put it in the trunk?
Cover up the blood that was already in there.
And Thursday morning may have marked the only time this trial a witness will be questioned about roadkill.
When did you get this deer?
That night.
You had not hit the deer,
No.
but you saw it hit.
Yes.
And then, I guess Barbara came home, and she seen a deer.
So where was Barb at?
I don't know where she was.
Who claimed the deer?
Bobby did.
What did she do with the deer?
They cleaned it out.
Where at?
In the garage.
Police records are providing conflicting evidence. So what does it mean for the case?
What about a car deer? A deer that was out hit by a car?
Yeah, my brother claimed it.
Okay, so someone hit it, you don't know who hit it? This brother?
No, it's Bobby.
Bobby? And then that deer, was that cleaned someplace? Where was that cleaned out at?
Right where it was hit.
Okay, so it wasn't done in your garage, was it? You don't know?
And how long, or how did you get the deer?
It was a roadkill. It was hit right up the road from our house.
When you find your deer on the side of the road, first thing to do is check how fresh it is.
But you saw it hit.
Yes.
And knew it was a fresh kill.
Yes.
Now, when you get a roadkill, you can't just take that home and eat it necessarily, can you?
No.
He brought home a deer carcass that he found on the side of the road. He said he strung it up in his mom's garage, cut it apart, and so some of the speculation is maybe he was masking blood evidence. I'm not accusing anybody of anything, I'm just wanting to toss this out there. He has fantasies of mutilating naked women, incest, rape, pedophilia, torture, bestiality, things I can't say at all on YouTube.
There's blood in the Dassey garage. Zellner says there's blood outside the Dassey trailer, and I suspect there's potentially blood in the Dassey trailer. And of course, if they bothered to photograph Bobby's vehicle, we would likely see there is blood in that as well, which, like all of this other blood evidence connected to Bobby Dassey, went untested.
It sounded like he was joking, honestly, but he asked us if he wanted us to help him get rid of the body.
You don't feel too good when he says stuff like that. We always thought he liked Stephen, but it doesn't sound like it. That stuff isn't even the truth.
Mr. Salas claims 2 witnesses saw Brendan and his friend standing on either side of Teresa about an hour after she left the Avery salvage yard.
Bobby Salas says Brendan and a friend were spotted with Teresa, but context clues reveal he was most likely talking about Bobby.
Salas also claims Bobby and his friend were overheard by several people joking about killing Teresa.
Brendan didn't go anywhere that night, but Bobby did, and during his very first interview, before they start mucking everything up with Brendan, he tells police that Bobby was with Mike hunting on Halloween, and that would place them together at the exact time that Salas claims a Dassey brother and his friend was spotted with Teresa.
Who was home at your house on Monday?
Just Bobby.
Just Bobby was home? And how long was he home? Bow hunting or goose hunting? With his friend? What's his friend's name? Mike Osmondson. Did he say anything about seeing this gal?
If it comes out to be true that Bobby Dassey really did have something to do with Teresa's death, he literally testified for the prosecution, pointing fingers at both Stephen Avery, his uncle, and also his little brother. And if it's true that Bobby Dassey is involved, then he is a whole nother level.
The only way I can make sense of it is that the killer planted some evidence which led the police to believe it was Stephen Avery. And then the police
added some more.
Genuinely believing that it was Stephen Avery and that they didn't have enough evidence, planted some more.
And I encourage law enforcement to do it, and they probably are doing it, is anytime they're looking at a suspect, You want to know what's on this hard drive.
And when she just discovered it, though.
And this was not turned over to you.
It wasn't turned over to us
by the prosecution.
It wasn't turned over to us, and in fact, we've never actually seen it because it was only turned over to Kathleen Zellner in April. And all we've seen what's been written about it and discussed about it.
You know, I think social media really offered that to people. It offered forums and communities, and there's a Reddit crowd who are investigating the crime itself.
And so in terms of those alternative theories, you said you don't want to speculate about that or talk about that outside of a courtroom. Have you been following the speculation on Reddit? There's, you know, troves of information.
I've seen some of it, yes. I mean, there's some kind of crazy theories on Reddit. There's some not so crazy, some pretty interesting theories.
Have you seen your theory that you wanted to present in court?
Some of it, yes.
Brendan's older brother that has pictures of like mutilated women that look like fucking Teresa Halbach on his computer, like thousands of images. It's like, why didn't you fucking look at that guy? It's so weird, dude. It's so weird. It's very frustrating.
Did you take the pictures? No. Did Steve take pictures? No.
Zellner remained relentless in her pursuit for justice. She approached the case with a new angle.
A computer forensic person, in contrast, is someone who can dig deep down under the hood. They can recover deleted files. They can recover remnants of files that may be left on a computer hard drive.
A social media site tipped off the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and police traced the accounts.
Bobby said he was sleeping. And he wasn't sleeping, he was on the internet. He was on the computer.
He worked third shift, Stephen.
You got that right. This was during the day, after you got home from work.
Bullshit.
Yeah, the time is there.
But police went back in February after they spoke with his cousin, Kayla.
Why would you go to Fox Lake? Fox Hills.
I had no choice.
You had no choice?
Meanwhile, Bobby was home alone on the PC in his room using Brendan's account.
You got to get hold of that, or any writings, anything like that, and see what are they listening to, hearing, and what are they sending back.
Yep.
Yeah.
You talk to anybody about this online?
Internet history, Windows history, and all MSN messages, all of which revealed a propensity for sexual violence.
Bobby even warns one girl that she hasn't seen him mad yet. We're going to play a game, and we're going to play it by my rules. Why don't you meet me at a warehouse? I'll be that guy on Saw.
I want to play a game.
And hunted women in the forest, shooting them from behind in the dark.
And the deleted file from the Dassey computer was titled Saw 2. Saw 2 came out only days before Teresa's death.
Did he pick Halloween for any reason?
You can see parts of the salvage yard are even sectioned off with that yellow tape. There's also a trailer roped off with that yellow police tape right there.
Do you know anything about Steve getting into state and stuff? Did you ever talk about that at all?
This is gonna suck. If Bobby and Scott did this, it sucks. But at the same time, we still have the cops messing with everything. So as Kathleen describes, and let me also say this is not my theory. This is all Kathleen's theory. This is the person on Reddit's theory. Everything points to this being a sick, twisted, deviant, messed up person.
Uncover the truth. Make a difference. It's what you do every day. It's not easy, but it's worth it.
Focused right around Kitchener, Ontario in Canada, which is the hometown of magnet forensics. Today I'm very excited to have the opportunity to introduce and demonstrate the new Internet Evidence Finder Advanced Edition.
The CD contains the state's recovered pornography images relevant to the material of the Teresa Halbach murder.
The next option allows Outrider to search browser history for URLs and keywords that you have in your keyword list.
Significantly, Stephen Avery's trailer and his computer were also searched extensively for pornography, and none was found. So he's going to someone else's house to look at his porn. The detective was asked to generate a report.
If it finds one of those keywords, it would immediately notify me by sending me an alert.
Blood, body, bondage, bullet, cement, DNA, fire, gas, gun, handcuff, journal, RAV4, stab, throat, and tires.
Stephen Avery's new lawyer, Kathleen Zellner, now believes that other family members are involved in the crime and are now covering up evidence.
Now, the Reddit theory says that Scott and Bobby did this.
We'll be searching for application executables for apps such as dark web apps, encrypted apps, VPNs, etc.
He's got 2 kids.
The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children sat down with NewsAid to talk about the warning signs of online abuse and some of the best deterrents.
An XML file received from NCMEC, or the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, can be ingested so that the contents such as usernames, IP addresses, etc. can be searched using Outrider.
His nephew Bobby also isn't a saint.
We can collect artifacts listed in the user guide such as USB device history.
He said some children are enticed into self-producing images.
There was even the potential for sexual exploitation charges due to the conversations with underage girls found on the computer.
Brad also states Barbara did not want anyone to get what was on the computer, and he was concerned that she was trying to remove evidence.
And then I can actually start to investigate.
Well, I'll have to show you some of the Reddit stuff that went down.
So he was fighting her, trying to get her down into the passenger side floorboard, but she was still fighting him.
This is the car that you also own, which makes you preeminently qualified to opine upon. Do you notice anything strange or different or?
She heard them discussing her car and what to do with it. He said to the other guy, "We need to call my dad's friend. He's a cop."
You guys, my second documentary here at Daily Wire is going to be the Convicting a Murderer series.
They state they are going to show that Stephen Avery is guilty. They state that they're going to include everything that Making a Murderer left out.
When I really unpack who this man was and how disgusting it is that the Netflix documentary makers declined to really unpack his history.
And she already has her facts wrong.
Unpacked his family's history, really understanding who the Averys were.
She probably has somebody else that writes her stuff for her, and then she goes out and reads it.
I think people are going to be absolutely shocked.
You still need to know where to go to visit these horrible websites. There's marketplaces, there's horrible things on there, like you said, for kids, and even like murder for hire. There's counterfeit money, there's fake IDs. You know, there are all kinds of different websites that do horrible things.
Not any conservative media, not any liberal media. None of them would touch this.
Sun Sentinel, Daily Mail, Business Insider, Fox, some influencers, Ronan Farrow, Candace Owens, they both didn't read my messages, and nobody wanted to do anything.
That feels good. For 18 years, Avery was limited in everything he did after being convicted for a crime he didn't commit. Now state lawmakers want answers as to why this happened to him.
We need to take a look at the procedure, the process, the way decisions were made 18 and 19 years ago.
Many are still concerned about how someone in a trusted position allegedly had all of these pornographic images and videos.
Any case when you have a sexual assault is serious, and this is a serious case.
7 years after becoming a convicted sex offender, a Manitowoc County lawyer is in trouble again.
Engel is accused of sexually assaulting a 15-year-old girl, not telling the sex offender registry his current address, and using a computer to facilitate a child sex crime.
Wisconsin's Office of Lawyer Regulation publicly reprimanded Engel for the 2004 incident. However, according to its website, he remains in good standing with the state bar.
The criminal complaint also shows the Wisconsin Department of Justice and Calumet County Sheriff's Office investigated Engel in 2010. No charges were filed, but authorities suspect Engel was using the internet to meet children for sex.
Zellner opted for forensic testing of the Dassey family computer. What she found on it was damning.
I didn't even have fucking internet back then.
Tonight with a disturbing admission of child pornography from Manitowoc County.
Bobby is the older brother of Brendan and the nephew of Stephen.
The man told police he received about 1,000 pictures from the woman's phone during the last 2 months.
He was also the key eyewitness for the prosecution at Stephen's trial.
The man told police he made an agreement with a woman that she would send him pornographic photos of children and he would try to sell them on the internet.
Through purchases from a child porn club.
The number of tips compiled by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children has exploded in recent years.
More importantly, Bobby Dassey cannot be eliminated by the state from any of the pornographic searches focused on pain, torture, humiliation, and death inflicted upon women.
This was all found on his computer after Teresa went missing. The computer where his mom actually hired somebody to try and wipe it all out. It was wiped out, but
they can recover deleted files.
Kathleen Zellner's team was able to bring back some documents and history in the search engine.
It'll look for keywords or regular expression hits, even if the zip file is password protected.
There was nothing on my fucking computer.
Brian Dassey also recalled that his mother made the call to Auto Trader to set up an appointment instead of Mr. Avery.
Just like I was supposed to call Auto Trader? Well, that's another thing. That's on the computer. Bullshit! I want to talk to you. Yeah. Bullshit!